We're not fooling around. This is big news for DNVR, for the DNVR Broncos podcast, and for Toyota as we officially announce, welcome in to the Toyota Lounge, our new studio here. Brought to you by Toyota and the Toyota Front Range Stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. We're so excited to be partnering with Toyota here. We got these cool mic covers. We got so many cool things with Toyota, including there's now a Toyota 4Runner DNVR car driving around. Let's take a look. So, Henry, that's my car. That's my new
your car?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that
I want it to be
joke?
my new car. Yeah,
there
that actually is an
go.
April Fool's joke. But so excited to be rocking and literally rolling with Toyota right now.
Wow, literally rolling. Also, one person said we're muted, and I hope that's not true. Oh, there's a second one saying can't hear.
The whole thing was muted?
Oh, wait, same guy though. So maybe it's one guy who has us.
Oh,
like
no.
He messed up.
I hear it.
Oh, you hear it?
Okay.
So we're good? Well, if you couldn't hear
Nice.
the important thing, welcome into the Toyota
Lucid might not be
Lounge,
lucid.
The Toyota Lounge. We're good. We're rocking and rolling.
Yes.
And this is a day. Again, we're not fooling around with this news, but you have to be very careful with what you see online today.
True.
I've already almost been caught
Really?
by like 5 different things. Yeah.
I've only seen one fake news thing.
Which one?
Like that they're playing a football game on a boat.
Oh, yeah, that is clearly fake
Yeah,
news.
nobody's doing that.
The ones that have got me are, of course, like I think I've seen Devontae Smith has been traded, but that came from like an SB Nation account of like the Philadelphia Eagles branch, and I'm like, man, that's like us. A little lower, but that's almost like DNVR Broncos putting out a picture of who I don't even want to go down that route. It feels dirty to say of Garrett Bowles being traded or something like that. Like, that is a little dicey to do. So I've seen Devontae Smith is traded. I've seen that. I've seen a couple of NFL things from like fake ESPN accounts, but that look official. People, change their avatar to look like Adam Schefter. And they do like Adam_Schefter, so it really looks like his account. Don't get caught on that today.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen any. I was kind of like waiting for it, and I've been spending all morning on Twitter, but I just don't get it. I tried to convince people last year that we should have like a thing that we do. We just drop in the morning, but then RK said that joke is played out and everybody sees through it, so it's not worth doing anymore.
What did you want to do?
I don't think I had anything in particular, but something along those lines, like trade somebody or cut somebody.
I think you mentioned a big trade. I think you even threw Pat's name out there or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought, but apparently that's not funny anymore, according to Ryan, who's more online than me. So
well, you really like doing little pranks. How many times have you like locked Lexi out of the apartment already today?
The big one now is every time she goes out there, I just get up really quick and she panics. Yeah. Or like remember when Justin?
I'm so glad that she has to live in fear of just like leaving her
It's
apartment
important.
all the time.
It's important.
It's important.
Remember when Justin was watching that hockey game last week when we were standing here? Were you there for that one?
Hockey game?
Yeah, he was watching like that DU game. Oh, it was before the draft pod, so maybe you weren't here. Alyssa, you were here for that, right?
Wait, what?
When Justin was watching the hockey game and he was like wandering around and it was overtime and I was like looking at the computer and I was like, "Oh, Justin!" and I yelled. He sprinted across the studio. That was a good one. I'm proud of that one.
Wow, that wasn't even April Fool's though.
No, it wasn't.
No.
I mean, neither's locking somebody out.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess if
And
you say April Fool's after.
You still go down that route. My wife, Annika, absolutely hates this day. So I can't even like breathe.
Not even a little.
No, that would like actually make her upset at me.
Why?
And not many things I do actually make her upset, but it would ruin it. She hates
Huh.
it. Yeah.
Just tell her you won the lottery or something.
Oh, that would probably be the worst maybe. Wait, is it worse to be given bad news and told it was a joke in April Fool's, or is it worse to be given good news and then be told it was a joke?
That's a tough one. You gotta think. I mean, so like you win the lottery, First of all, you don't seem like somebody who plays the lottery anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess you could tell there's like a big parlay or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you could find a way around that. She would get excited. Yeah, you wouldn't want to leave her sad. But then the opposite is
because
like,
then you're saying
I just made $1,000 bet on something and I lost it.
Right.
It's like April Fools. No, because she's still pissed. I would just go with something good and then bet. Yeah.
Oh, but could you imagine if Lexi told you like, we just won $500,000, and then she's like, just kidding.
Everybody, I wonder if there was like a prime for April Fool's Day, because I just feel like at this point nobody believes anything they hear. You know, like 10 years ago, I feel like people were getting got.
That's true.
I remember there was I was at a Nuggets game. There's like one of the 2 Nuggets games I went to growing up, because I'm obviously not from here.
Obviously.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. But they were playing the Spurs on April Fool's Day, and like my whole family's there, and they put up on the big screen like, breaking news: the Broncos traded. It was Jake Plummer.
Oh.
It was Jake Plummer, and I think it was Clinton Portis for Donovan McNabb and Brian Westbrook.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I was just like sitting up there bawling, where everybody's like, "Oh no way, we just got McNabb." Yeah, it might not have been Clinton Portis. It might have been after that, but maybe not. It would have been pretty close.
You know, the Broncos, as Vincent's saying in the Toyota chat right now.
Yes, the Toyota chat.
He brought to you by 4Runner, which, by the way, is one of my favorite cars of all time. I'll get into that.
I feel like we should just overdo it. Like we should just, everything we should say brought to you by Toyota.
Oh,
today.
no. Did you just see the 4Runner drive off the screen? It looked like it just fell off.
It really caught my eye. It looks so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
No, but it's sad that it was driving off the screen. Like it was.
It'll be
driving
fine.
Downward.
That's a big, strong car.
It's actually really true. As Vincent said, the Broncos actually had an awesome opportunity to drop fake jerseys today. That would have been dicey because people know new uniforms are coming, obviously. Yeah. And so that one would have been believable.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those that you have to have the conversation if you're the Broncos, like, do we do this? But I think it's a little bit on the nose. Like, everybody would see it coming. Like, I even saw tweets last night saying, like, getting ready for the Broncos to make their fake. So I think that one would have been too easy. But if you do it, obviously, like, you have to just do something ridiculous. Like, they're like blue and orange tie-dye or something so everybody knows. Because you can't drop uniforms that are better than the uniforms you're actually going to wear. Otherwise, people will just get upset. So you can't say, like, we're going back to the 80s throwbacks.
Right.
Otherwise, when they have something worse, everybody's just going to be angry.
Wait, actually, the Broncos did this last year.
Oh, really?
Yes, they tweeted out, I'm going to share this with Alyssa.
Okay.
And she's going to be able to pull it up. But yeah, they did this a year ago. They probably actually should have just waited a year and done it today. But you know what April Fool's also means?
What?
It means it's draft month, baby.
Yeah. Also,
we are less than 4 weeks away from the draft.
Somebody tweeted that Vontae Davis died, which would be very sad. But it's April Fool's, so I'm not sure if that's like a...
Yeah, I think saying
it's awful.
I think saying people died is...
It should be off limits, but like I said, people are so immune to April Fool's now that's like the only thing that really would get anybody going. Like, that's the first time I got... Huh.
You're such a deep, dark person.
I don't think I am.
Henry, you are. Actually, I remember this. This tweet for a couple of reasons. Alyssa, I just sent you both. So Miles, the mascot, his official Twitter account, actually was the one to drop the uniforms. Don't worry, we're going to get into some real Broncos news in just a second. But Alyssa, if you could pull up the Miles video, it was a tweet they dropped last year. And a reason that I really remember
I remember.
is they made fake tweets for reporters, and they used me.
They did.
But they gave me a check mark. A blue
That's
check mark,
right.
which
I forgot about that
and I was like, wow, the Broncos have verified me. Do you have it, Alyssa?
Yeah, I was like, do you want it? Is it sound?
I don't know if it's sound. If it is, we'll be quiet. Okay. Maybe it's not sound.
Maybe it's not video. Oh, there we go.
Oh, look at that. Check marked by my name. Wow. So it's people wanting new uniforms. Now they're looking at a screen. Oh, here we go. Miles with the big reveal. Oh, so they actually didn't drop the uniforms. They just said coming tomorrow. Then, of course, those never came.
Yeah,
A little too cute.
I'm not a huge fan of Miles.
Oh.
I gotta be honest. Like were you here when I was talking to Todd about that?
I think so.
Yeah, when Todd. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't do it for me. I think mascots in general. Like Rocky's a great mascot because he actually does things.
Rocky's literally like was rated the best mascot in the country.
I believe it because he's like climbing up on top of like he's doing things that are dangerous. Miles kind of just stands there, like they make an extra point and he'll just nod really big. Like he definitely hasn't earned a Twitter account, I guess is where I'm going with that.
Have you earned a Twitter account though, Hank?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would
or
agree.
like know Gritty. No. And Gritty's like the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Okay.
Yeah. So like he is like a big enough icon that give him a Twitter account because it's like we just know it's gonna be like weird stuff and like like with Miles it's like what's the point? Like he's just gonna talk like a human. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Miles.
Who do you think has more Twitter followers, you or Miles?
I mean, it's got to be Miles. Everybody loves Miles.
Todd or Miles?
There's so many Broncos fans. I mean, I know I follow Miles. I followed Miles before I followed Todd.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I go.
And you
I
hate
go Miles.
So what does that say about Todd? You go Miles?
Yeah.
You're 2 for 2.
Wow.
Miles. Who has more Twitter followers?
Oh, here we
You and
go.
Todd combined, or Miles?
See, this is the thing that you do all the time where you make weird questions and you're like, well, this one has to be me and Todd because of. I'm not. You're not going to trick me. It's still Miles.
It's not. Have some confidence in yourself.
Ah.
You and Todd have like about 2,000 more than Miles.
I helped Todd out a little, I guess.
I don't want to brag, but I have
There
more
we go.
followers than Miles. So
Yeah. I thought that's where you were going to go with the last one.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that's where you thought. I was
that
gonna
is you
go.
thought right.
Now, do you know where I'm about to go right now?
No idea.
I'm about to get in the 4Runner that I've always dreamed of.
A great Toyota 4Runner? How
Oh.
about that gas mileage?
Oh, incredible. I kid you not, though. A Toyota 4Runner is like, I have like one of 3 realistic dream cars because, I don't even know what it would be like to be in a Lamborghini. So I can't even consider that. But a Toyota 4Runner is a car that'll be like my dad car. That'll be the ultimate car when I'm like, fully established.
What color?
It's a great color. I mean, the DNVR one's, of course, white.
It
then
is
we got
white.
I don't know. I'm not really a car color guy. I don't care.
Interesting.
It could be any color.
Huh.
But the inside
Like a
of a
hot pink?
4Runner is so cool. One of my friends had a 4Runner in college, and he had like a brand new one. And he had this button in there, and it was called all it was to make like the stereo system like bump even more.
Oh, wow.
And it was so cool. And if you want to get your hands on a 4Runner, the official vehicle of DNVR, which is Toyota, you can go to their Front Range stores. They have locations Toyota or Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain State Toyota in Denver, and Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West out in Lakewood. Toyota is the official automotive partner of the NFL and, even more importantly, the official automotive partner of DNVR, the official vehicle of DNVR. So check out so many of their cars, including my favorite, the 4Runner, over with our friends at Toyota, their Front Range Toyota stores.
I just went to their website. I kind of like the Supra.
Why? What catches your eye about it?
Just, it's pleasing to look at.
It is.
Yeah.
That is.
I bet it's nice inside, too.
That's like the opposite of the car, of the 4Runner that I like.
Yeah. Also, until I can go get this Supra, I'm just going to be spending a lot of time with our other partner, Raising Cane's. We actually haven't brought them.
No, actually.
Oh, damn it.
Man, we need to get you some glasses. Maybe
Well,
Toyota can make you some glasses.
Oh, no. Well, damn it. It goes up to the top. I am excited about Raising Cane's. We'll talk more, but we did all of our, we were live for all that March Madness stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know who she is or what she does.
Where is this going?
I just know her as the Canes lady because she's somehow a part of them. And a couple times just came over and gave us coupons for free fingers. And so I'm
Free
pretty hyped about
fingers.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not human.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
That'd be more of like a Wendy's thing.
I was thinking the same thing. I wasn't sure if that was just like a weird Montana story growing up, or if that's like a thing everybody knew. I was like, let's just skip that one.
I think it was fake.
Was it fake?
Yeah.
The fingers?
She either
cut
off her own
God.
or like use like a dead relative's finger.
Oh.
Yeah. They don't do that.
That is a good April Fool's joke. We talk about like April Fool's jokes.
That's way too intense.
But no, the little ones don't work anymore. Like you can't just say
my gosh,
breaking news,
awful.
Cortland Sutton's traded. Like that's when I die, put my fingers in some chili.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, save them for April, and that'll be my last laugh. Well, I'll make other people laugh. I'll be dead. At Bet365 though, we've been making a bunch of money. We've been betting every underdog. Ooh, here's a fun one. The Rockies, 1-3.
Okay.
Not great for most teams for the Rockies. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I only bet on them once. It was their one win.
Wow. What were the odds?
About 2-1. I don't remember exactly.
Oh,
they've been hovering right around there.
As much as I would have thought.
Yeah, because I guess if they're 2-1 and you did all 3 days or all 4 days, then you wind up with 3 units down 3. So you break even if you just bet them every day so far. So
wow, not bad.
Good job, Bet365. Luckily, I count as a win whenever I don't bet on the Rockies.
So then why would you ever bet on the Rockies if you're winning when you don't bet on them?
Because sometimes you just get this vibe. Like I was sitting there,
Apparently
down in the
you
bar.
did, yeah.
We were here for some bottomless mimosas before the CU game. I was like, you know what? The Rockies aren't going to lose every game. I think this is one of the ones they're going to win. And I did it, and I made some money.
Damn.
Bet365 is awesome. They've got a bet and get offer. You place a bet of $5 or more, you get $150 in bonus bets. They also have a first bet safety net offer. If you place a bet up to $1,000, then if that bet loses, you get a bonus bet that is matched, so that whatever amount you bet, you get back in bonus bets. You get a second chance at it. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right.
Also you have to use the code DNVR365. That's in a different section. I'm going to put that in the same section. But
yeah,
DNVR365, use it.
Man.
Well, I mean, we'd be all day if I read the whole thing.
Okay, people in the Toyota chat are saying...
Yes, the Toyota chat.
We will hit you with a thumbs up on YouTube once you talk Broncos. So let's talk Broncos.
Oh.
1 week ago, like right now, Sean Payton said it's realistic that the Broncos trade up in the draft.
Yes.
And it was kind of an interesting back and forth. Ian Rappaport, everyone knows him, came over to Sean during his little brunch meeting, popped in, asked one question, and then left. And it was interesting because there was a little back and forth. So Ian goes over to Sean and says, is it realistic that the Broncos could trade up in the draft? And he says, I think it's realistic. And then he looks at Ian and realizes who it is and goes, I know your report suggested otherwise, but it's realistic. What's hard to predict, though, is what's on the receiving end. I think it's a good day to be the Cardinals general manager today at Arizona. It's hard to predict what the cost is, and yet I certainly wouldn't say that it's unrealistic. We will pay close attention to it. So, Henry, was Sean doing a little early April Fool's prank with Ian saying it's realistic, or is it actually realistic?
I mean, you can't say no, it's not realistic. Like that's it. If the question had been, do you expect to trade up, then that would be like a little bit different conversation because you're like, yes, you expect to trade up, but is it realistic? That's like, I mean, what else is realistic? Like it's realistic that I'm gonna go home and
eat.
Yeah, that's very realistic.
Yeah.
But like realistic. Like realistic is just the
Cut
most
off your
broad.
finger?
Like it just means possible. You know?
Yeah.
Like if somebody could call and just be like, "Hey, want to move up 3 spots for a 7th rounder?" Sure, why not? Like
That's not realistic, though.
no. I mean, there are scenarios where anything could happen. So, in terms of realistic, especially the way he answered it, like if he had said like, "Not only is it realistic, like every day we're talking about it," but like, I mean, it's realistic.
Yeah. I'm gonna take it actually many steps further than you for football reasons. It's extremely realistic that this happens, and I'm not just talking about trading 1 spot up with Minnesota, trading 2 spots up with the Jets in order to like secure Michael Penix or secure Bo Nix. The fact that we're sitting here on April Fools, I think a lot of people thought that it would be an April Fool's joke if I told you 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 1 month ago, right at the start of free agency, that the quarterbacks on April 1st of the Denver Broncos are going to be Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci end list. People would have been like, nah, you're just fooling with me. That's a joke. No way. They've got to have added Sam Darnold, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, traded for Zach, done something. Maybe not got the answer, but done something. And the fact that they haven't done anything, we always say, in NFL teams, in fact, like general managers, I'm sure George Payton has said this many times, you never want to go into the draft desperate for one position or like where it's obvious from other teams around the NFL knowing you need that position. And Henry, right now, it is that for the Broncos. And everything but like Carson Wentz and Ryan Tannehill and Zach Wilson is dried up. Like every other option is gone outside of the draft. So I do think it makes it very realistic. And also the Broncos aren't they're not hiding it. Again, they didn't sign they didn't sign a Jacoby Brissett where last week Sean could have told us oh no, we got Jacoby, we're good. And we all kind of roll our eyes, but it's
that's
okay, at least they do have some sort of a plan. They made some sort of move to kind of confuse us. No, they haven't made anything. They're making it very clear. We need a quarterback.
Yeah. I would say even if you have Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew or one of those guys, you're still desperate for a quarterback.
You think the Raiders are desperate for a quarterback at 13?
So.
Man,
they're desperate.
We had Baldy on last week, and while he's not sold that the Raiders are set with Jacoby and Aiden O'Connell, he was like, the Broncos are the more desperate team to trade up, or the team that he thinks will trade up more because they have something there with.
But whether
Gardner.
they do it or not, they're still going to be desperate. You could leave the draft without doing it. You're still desperate because you're going to need to make a change at quarterback next year or whenever, and it's not that pressing for them because they're going to suck either way. Which Broncos might be kind of in a similar boat there. We'll see. So yeah, I mean, Ryan Tannehill or Gardner Minshew, I guess Gardner Minshew has the hair and lives in an RV, so let's go get him. It doesn't really matter, and you still have those guys out there.
He almost made the Colts go to the playoffs last year.
He almost made the playoffs, yeah. I mean, yeah, there you go. I mean, Ryan Tannehill a couple years did make the playoffs.
There you go.
So, I mean, I almost said you could make a case for either of them. You can't make a case for any of these guys.
Right.
They can go out there, they can throw the ball around. It is what it is. But if you don't, I would say there's still a dozen teams in the league that are desperate for a quarterback. And quarterback's just a different position than anywhere else. You can patch up all your holes everywhere, but you can't just patch up quarterback. It doesn't work that way.
So you're not really buying Sean. If he didn't say that it was realistic last week, that doesn't change how you feel at all?
I mean, if he had gone up there and said it's not realistic for us to trade up, then that would be the news to me. It's realistic to trade up is kind of the default, Or if they had said it's not realistic to trade down, that's another one. We'd be like, wait, what the hell? It's not realistic? There's no world in which it happens. So it's just the truth. It's just the bottom line is whatever happens. And if you're ruling out trading up in the draft a month before, I mean, it's realistic for literally every team to trade up in this draft, including the Bears, because they've got pick 9 and they could trade up from there.
It is not realistic for the Commanders to trade up in the first round.
Okay. Maybe the Commanders would. So, I mean, Ian Rappaport goes up there and says, is it realistic to trade up? They might just say no. He would probably just say, no, we can't do it. We'd love to, but you can't even say you'd love to, I guess.
Right, because then you're admitting to only wanting Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little more context. We talked to George Payton a couple of hours after Sean said this, and I asked George what he thought about being able to trade up. Is it realistic? Like Sean said, he said, you look at it. You just don't want to panic. You know everyone in front of you, right behind you. If there's a player you love, Sean talked about being in love with the player, then you do whatever it takes to get him. But we don't want to panic. There's going to be a really good player at 12. Unless we have a total consensus love for another player, we'll stay at 12 or we'll move back. So then what George is saying, you piece the things together, the Broncos fall in love with someone, they're trading heaven and earth to get him. We're talking multiple first-round picks. We're talking Cortland Sutton, Garrett Bowles, Pat Surtain. everyone is on the table,
Yep.
according to what George Payton said there. And so it just boils down to, Henry, do you think they're going to fall in love with the quarterback in this draft process?
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're probably already in love with Caleb Williams. So there's a starting point.
And he's off the board, obviously.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Beyond that, you would think so. Like, you would think they would fall in love with one. There's no guarantee, and even if they do, it could be somebody who's gone in the top 3 picks anyway, and so they just don't even have a chance at them. But I would say, yeah, like they'll fall in love with a couple of these guys, one of them being Caleb Williams, and whether that works out for them or not is kind of a different conversation.
So do they fall in love with the non-Caleb?
Yes.
I think so, too. So then how realistic is it they move up?
Well, that's the other conversation, which is, I mean, they'll probably fall in love with somebody who's going to be gone before they even have a chance to trade up. And so what you really need is, like, do they fall in love with Penix? Do they fall in love with Bo Nix? Or do they fall in love with whichever one of Jayden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy is still there at pick 4? And I would say probably not. But at the same time, like, you probably still snag one at 12. You might still trade up. But the way they talk about it, I mean, Sean saying there's 1 to 2 that are actually going to pan out. Odds are, again, one of those is Caleb Williams. The other is probably gone in the 2nd or 3rd pick. But they might still like one of them enough to go get him.
That's a huge thing that you just said, and I want to get into Sean's full quote about that, because I think that is where this answer truly comes from. After I tell you about our friends over at Coors Light, lot of chillin' this weekend, and Coors Light is the beer to chill with. You guys know Coors is all about the chill, whether you're chilling with a Coors Light or, I mean, they've even got the chill locator on their bottles and cans, because it's as cold as the Rockies. When it is cold, it turns blue. The beer is brewed cold. It's canned cold. Everything about it is chill. So if you want a beer that's meant to chill, to hit that reset when you're hanging out with friends, whether you're watching March Madness tonight, LSU, Iowa, massive college basketball game on the women's side. This weekend, we've got the Final Four on Saturday with the men's, then the championship game 1 week from tonight. If you want a beer to chill and catch those games, check out our friends over at Coors Light. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And if you want it delivered straight to your door through Instacart, go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR.
And go check out Volo, especially now that it's summertime. It's a great time to get going with them. They've got all sorts of stuff. Just like looking, they have traditional pickleball and party pickleball. And this one doesn't say either pickleball, it just says pickleball. So those are just all the pickleball options. And of course, there's all the other sports. They've got volleyball and
Party
flag football.
pickleball sounds pretty nice.
I don't know. I don't want to play a game if we're not going to be competitive about it. Like, that sounds like it's too much about fun and not enough about winning.
You are such a Debbie Downer, man.
I don't
Your
wanna...
definition of fun is cutting off your finger, putting in some chili, and making someone be fooled by it.
Well, somebody else cutting it off. I'll be dead.
That's true.
Cornhole. They have hiking. Ooh, I'm going to click on the hiking, see what they have to say about the hiking.
They have everything.
They really do have have everything. Bar games, skee ball. They have things all days of the week, and they've got locations all around, like the Denver metro area, so you can figure out what's near you. You can sign up for the Volo Pass, which is a premier monthly membership program. It gives its members unlimited access to sports, events, and social activities every night of the week. For example, there's the Modern Day Sport and Social Club. It's only $20 a month. It's the best way to meet new people, unlimited access to pickups and drop-ins, especially as a sub, because sometimes teams need subs. Discounted leagues up to $50. Free or discount access to tournaments. There's all sorts of different stuff. You can actually play in different cities with the Volo Pass too. So if you're traveling or whatever else, sign up on the Volo app using the code DNVR3. You'll get the Volo Pass for only $10 per month for the first 3 months.
All right, we've got a lot of people rocking and rolling with us in the Toyota Lounge today on the Toyota chat, but not enough thumbs up. Hit us with the thumbs up. We really appreciate it. It supports us a lot. A lot of good comments there in the Toyota chat as well. Let's keep those rolling in, and we'll hit super chats at the end of the show. So drop those in, and we will hit them at the end of the show. But you mentioned something. Sean pointed out something that a lot of teams get caught up in. Just because 5 or 6 quarterbacks go in the first round every single year does not mean 5 or 6 quarterbacks pan out. And he really wanted to remind people of that. He's mentioned it a couple of times, but he said it again last week when talking about the quarterbacks. He says, I think you tune out the stuff you read. Just go back. We just saw the second run on the draft class a few years ago that everyone loved all these prospects, and now they're all with different teams outside of Trevor Lawrence. So you look closely. A lot of times you'll hear someone say, hey, they can always move back and pick up one of these other players. The reality of it is maybe 1 or 2 of these guys will have a chance of success. Then you get those leap years when 3 or 4 do. The key is, what's the fit relative to your team? I think you do pay attention to where you feel like teams are at in their needs. There are obviously a few teams at the front of this draft with a quarterback need. That's no secret. And then you kind of go from there. Henry, the more I listen to Sean talk about quarterbacks, and I truly do believe that he thinks there's 1 or 2 guys that they're going to fall in love with here. And they will trade up if one of them's there at a spot that they're able to. But the more I'm convinced that the Broncos are not going to pick a quarterback at 12. Because I think if they fall in love with 1, 2, 3 of these guys, and they're available at 4, 5, 8, 9, they're not going to wait for them to fall. George even mentioned it. George doesn't want to trade up and lose all future draft capital, but he said even if we do fall in love, we make that move up. But you don't just take a quarterback to take a quarterback, because that doesn't make sense. You take Brock Bowers if you don't love Michael Penix Jr. and he's there at 12, but you love Brock Bowers. You take Brock Bowers instead. I'm not saying that's what's right. That's what I'm understanding from the Broncos' standpoint. So I don't think the Broncos take a quarterback at 12. It's either a trade up or it's not a quarterback.
Unless it's Penix. If Penix is the guy you fall in love with, you probably sit there and wait. I mean, with all the hype now, even started right before the pro day, like the morning of the pro day, there were a bunch of mock drafts. They were like, oh, he's going at 19, or the Broncos trading down to 16 to get him. But with the pro day too, like maybe that changes the equation a little. But if it's him, then you could wait. And Bo Nix, you could wait, but it's tough to imagine Sean likes him. Yeah. The other thing he said was that there's 1 to 2 quarterbacks. If you go back through the first rounds the last 10 years, there's 1 per year. There's basically 10 guys, and 4 of them came from that same draft with Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love. And that's if you're ready to say Jordan Love worked out.
Wow.
And just for what it's worth, like my line was like Trevor Lawrence worked out. I didn't have Deshaun Watson, but that's like off field,
right?
Whatever reasons. Mayfield, I had no, but I mean, he's the number 1 overall pick, and you didn't re-sign him, so you can't call that working out. Daniel Jones, I had a no.
Yep, I agree.
Jared Goff was a no. But again, like he got, if you're trading him away, how could he have worked out when you're trading him away when he's like 27?
I think I agree with all of those except for Goff, because they were able to get No, they weren't able to get 2 first round picks.
They threw in more with him to go get Stafford.
They kicked him to the curb. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but that I guess would probably be the top of those guys. So you're looking at 1 a year in the first round. And I mean, those just aren't great numbers. If the Broncos hadn't just given up so much to go get Russell Wilson, I'd say they're definitely trading up. But that's like a lesson that they just learned, that you don't just give all that stuff up and so it works out. No, you can give all that up and it's not worth it, and then all of a sudden you're screwed. Because if like the thing about drafting a quarterback this year is that you play him this season in whatever capacity, whether it's every game, whether it's just the last couple games, you probably play him next year, and then after that, if things go horribly wrong, then you can replace him. You still don't have your first round pick. Like if you do the big trade up, if you do this year's first and next year and the year after, and so you're really putting all your eggs in one basket, and on top of that, you can't even have yes, Joe Burrow was really good right away. You also had a great team around him. Like he had a great defense, he had great receivers, and so you're probably not going to maximize this window because you also don't have assets to put enough talent around to succeed. So if you're this ownership group having just given all this up for Russell Wilson, now seeing what it looks like when you have a roster without much young talent on it, if there's one team in the league from an ownership perspective that should be very hesitant to do this, you would think it would be the Broncos.
But, let me remind you, Sean didn't make that trade for Russ.
No.
The ownership didn't make that
But
trade.
they have the ramifications of it.
They do, but they weren't involved in that. And then on top of that, who would really be the one pushing for this trade in the Broncos organization?
Sean Payton.
And I agree. And that's who ownership hired to trust. So they gave him the keys because they said, we trust you. If he says we need to do this, I don't think ownership hesitates at all. Because just because they made one bad decision and a different group of people made one bad decision doesn't mean that it's going to, this next decision is going to be bad. So Henry, before we take a look at exactly where the Broncos could trade up in the draft, what would you say the percent chance is that they do trade up from 12 right now, April 1st?
Probably 60% they trade up, 30% they stay, 10% they trade down.
It's a lot higher than I thought you were going to go.
Yeah.
More likely than not, they
if not
trade
for
up.
the Russ trade, it'd be like 80, 90%.
And that's where I'm at. I think 80-90 because I don't think they're going to view the Russ trade. Because, again, different people in charge. Different number one person in charge.
Just because you weren't the person who did it, though, doesn't that shouldn't matter for learning the lesson.
I don't think it should matter. Just because past results didn't pan out doesn't mean future results won't.
It's true. But when you have the track record you do of teams trading up into the top 3 for quarterbacks, and it hasn't worked since like Eli Manning, and that was a weird trade because obviously he forced it.
Yeah.
Like you've got like 7 guys in a row that just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
I mean
that's very fair.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't just trade up to trade up. You trade up because you fall in love with someone.
Yeah.
And you mentioned top 3. Is that a likely spot? Let's dive into this and look at the top 5 most realistic spots the Broncos could trade up in the draft. Henry, what's your number 1? Because I've got my number 1. I'm gonna type it down just so I can prove that I'm not changing it if it is or isn't yours.
I would say
If the Broncos trade up, what's the most likely spot? And let us know in the Toyota chat where you think the most likely spot is for the Broncos to trade.
that's tough.
Just let's go through the draft order really quick, because of course you got the Bears at number 1. I'm just gonna go through this so people know what the order is. Bears at 1, Commanders at 2, Patriots at 3, Cardinals at 4, Chargers at 5, Giants at 6, Titans at 7, Falcons at 8, Bears at 9 again, Jets at 10, Vikings at 11, and your Denver Broncos at 12.
Yeah, I would probably say it's just tough. I'm trying to decide between Atlanta and Chicago at 8 and 9. Chicago, I mean, really doesn't have a lot of picks. They've got the 2 first rounders, so they could trade down. Atlanta, I mean, they've
got Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, they could be sitting there looking at one of the receivers. I'll say Atlanta. I'll say all 3 receivers are off the board, so Atlanta trades down, and they want Brock Bowers. Yeah.
Okay. I just so you know, who's that right there?
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Oh boy.
Sean Payton identified the Cardinals out of the blue.
I mean, that's the trade down spot. Like, that's the first trade down spot.
And I think that's the most realistic. Because, again, I don't think they're going to trade up just for a quarterback. They're going to trade up for the quarterback, the guy that they absolutely love.
The 4th quarterback. Their quarterback is Caleb Williams. I mean, that's probably everybody's quarterback.
It would be the 4th quarterback.
Yeah.
But, again,
I mean, there's some weird
Sean
buzz,
doesn't care where the quarterback
It's true.
is drafted in terms of if it's the best or the worst. And kind of like we've talked about, the 2 best quarterbacks in the Josh Allen draft class were Josh Allen, and he was the 3rd quarterback taken, and Lamar Jackson, the 5th quarterback taken. You had Rosen, who was the 4th quarterback, the 4th quarterback taken, absolute disaster of a bust. Sam Darnold, a bust. Baker Mayfield, in terms of the team he was drafted with, the 1st quarterback taken, a bust. So I don't think Sean, and that's what Sean kind of said was, anything you read, you throw out the window. He doesn't care if they're actually getting the 2nd best quarterback that's viewed across the country. He just wants his guy. And so that's why I think he has 2 other guys outside of Caleb Williams. I think it's J.J. McCarthy and Jayden Daniels. That could easily be the second and third pick in the draft.
You would think.
Then I don't think the
That's the heavy
Broncos
favorite.
are trading up. But let's say Washington loves Drake May's skill set, or the Patriots want Drake May. One of those guys is falling to fourth. That's where I think the jump happens. Do you think I'm too far off?
I mean, that's just a lot to give up. And I mean,
even George Payton said you do whatever you have to
definitely.
do.
But I mean that, like, there's a 90% chance that just blows up in your face. I mean, if you've got 6 first-round quarterbacks, you say 2 of them. Say it's a good year, so 2 of those 3 work at, or 1 in 3 works out. So you're starting with a 33% success rate. And then you're talking about, like, oh, maybe he is good, and you still don't have, like, a great roster around him, and you don't have either picks or you don't have Pat Surtain or whatever. Just the odds of that being a good decision are very, very slim. Like, what you're hoping for is that 10 years from now, you've rebuilt the roster and he's still good, and you're in like these happy days where the roster's good and you're obviously paying him a bunch of money, but he's so good that it doesn't matter that you're paying him. I mean, and at that point, probably like $80 million a year. So it's a terrible decision. It would be if they decide to do that.
So do you think it's not realistic then?
Oh, it's realistic. I think it's more likely that they find a way to get up to 8 or 9 and mostly just jump the Vikings. But it's definitely possible that they move up that far.
So you and I are just going to view this so differently when we build this top 5 presented by Bet365, because I think they're going to try to get up as high as possible, and you think they're just going to honestly try to jump the Vikings.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there aren't a lot of... I mean, the Giants, I guess, could take a quarterback.
So is this kind of the conversation that Sean and George might be having? Is George like, yeah, we can move up a few spots? And Sean's like, nope. Let's go all the way up, because you did mention the Giants could take a quarterback. So I do think if you want that 4th quarterback, you got to be in front of 6. Chargers aren't giving you their pick. Nope. Unless you way overpay. And goodness, could you imagine way overpaying to a division right? Like, no team wants to do that.
Yeah. You're not.
The Chargers don't want to help the Broncos and Sean Payton get his quarterback.
That's just not going to happen.
And you don't want to overpay. So that's why I come back to 4 again.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to be able to get an offer that works. Because, again, you're talking 3 first-round picks and probably more this year. So it's just not.
So you think
not feasible?
I know you think 8 or 9 is a better decision. Do you think it's more likely?
Yep. Okay. Definitely. Just because it doesn't take as much.
Then I'll lean with you. So we'll go Falcons at 8?
Yeah.
Is the most realistic?
Yeah, that's probably more realistic than Chicago.
You still think Chicago at 9 is more realistic than the Cardinals at 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 1, we'll go the number 8 pick with the Falcons. Number 9, number 2, we'll go the number 9 pick with the Bears. Number 9, Bears. We got to go Cardinals here.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. I mean...
And I know what you're saying about it costing a lot.
Uh-huh.
And so maybe that is why it's not the most realistic, even though I'm going to stick with that. But I see what you're saying. It's, what, 3 firsts?
I mean, that would be the craziest... That would be the craziest move of the offseason.
In the NFL?
Yeah. If you trade all the way up to number 4.
Trying to think of other moves that have been made.
Like signing Russ, but that's not like crazy. That's just kind of a storyline, you know?
Saquon to the Eagles.
Yeah, that's not the same.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
it would be the
craziest
It would be
move.
the biggest move of the offseason.
But maybe the Broncos do that again. They have a tendency to do that.
So let's go Cardinals.
Haven't learned the lesson yet.
Number 4, Cardinals. And then, Henry, you're going to absolutely hate this. Obviously, Bears are picking a quarterback at 1.
Yep.
I really think the Commanders are picking a quarterback at 2.
Yep.
I also do think Patriots are picking a quarterback at 3. And even though they're getting a 3rd quarterback with the 3rd pick, I think it'd be foolish for them to trade back. But, man, if it seems like Gerard Mayo, the way he's been talking over this past week, they're embracing a rebuild right now.
Yeah.
If you're embracing a rebuild, if you can go from 3 to 12 and pick up 2 additional first-round picks and get Joe Alt at 12, get Brock Bowers, get a damn good football player, pick up additional. For me, and you are embracing a rebuild, which it seems like they are, could be a really good move for the Patriots' perspective.
You'd be tempted. It's just so tough to pass up on Marvin Harrison Jr. Because, like...
Oh, and that would be a mistake, in my opinion.
That's the thing. Wait, which would?
Passing up on Marvin... No. It'd be a mistake drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. instead of either drafting a quarterback or trading back.
Quarterback aside. Like, if they're deciding they're not getting a quarterback.
Oh, you trade back, I think.
Instead of Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about, like, maybe Brock Bowers down there, but you're talking, like, Marvin Harrison should be a Hall of Famer. Like, he's the best receiver prospect in forever. Like, there's even if you hit on all 3 picks, say you get, like, the number 12 pick the next 3 years, you'd still rather have Marvin Harrison than the 3, like, the average of what you get at a number 12 pick. I don't even think it's that close.
Say that again? I
think that if you were just to take, like, 3 number 12 picks, like, say whoever the average is in terms of value, you'd rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. than all 3 of those guys. Because the odds are just so strong that he's, like, you expect him to immediately be one of the 3 or 4 best receivers in the league.
No, but I think you view this in a way of you're not getting 3 number 12 picks. You're getting the number 12 this year, and then you're trading it to a bad team that's getting a rookie quarterback. You're getting a top 5 pick next year. Potentially.
Maybe.
Obviously, you can't bank on it.
Maybe. But, like, that's just one of those generational prospects that if you have the chance to get him, like, he's better than the number 3 pick most years. Like, you go back to, like, Von Miller with the Broncos. It's like, if Von Miller's there, should the Broncos have taken 3 first instead of Von? You know? And I would even say that Marvin Harrison's seen in a better light as a prospect than Von was. You know, when you have a chance to go get one of those guys that feels like, you never know how things are going to work out, but he just feels like a lock to be a Hall of Fame type of player, that's just so tough to pass up on.
I see what you're saying. So you don't think the Patriots trade that pick?
They might. They definitely might. It's possible.
So would you put it on here?
Probably go quarterback.
Because I would probably put it on here either at 4 or 5.
So, I mean, 10's the easy one just to jump the Vikings. But again, I think the Vikings are also going to be trying to trade up. Me too.
So I don't think you're just jumping the Vikings at 11. I think you need to jump the Vikings further.
It depends on how things play. If you don't do that though, and then you're sitting here at, like, the Jets are on the clock and you've got, I mean, you're probably looking at, like, Bo Nix and Penix, and you want to make sure you get your pick of them. In that world, you do. But yeah, I mean, it really does depend just on how they see these quarterbacks. Like, if they like Drake May and Drake May slips, then getting up to 7 or 6, like, it could be very likely. Because every spot, you don't have to worry too much about, like, the Giants at 6 are the real threat in the top 10 to get a quarterback outside the top 3. But, like you said with Minnesota, you have Drake May on the board at, say, 7. Minnesota could trade up, and for that reason, you would have to trade up and offer more to go get him.
Right. I see what you're saying. I think there's one more thing with the Giants that we haven't talked about yet that I think could be very, very real in this trade-up conversation. I want to tell it to you after I tell you about becoming a DNVR diehard. Rock and roll with us. Not only are you supporting us, but there are so many perks when you're a diehard. You get 20% all of the events we have, 20% off all of our merch. You get a free shirt or hat of your choice from DNVR when you sign up, and then you get it every single year as well. You get access to all of our premium written content, which Hank has one every Sunday night. You got to check out thednvr.com for that. He dropped one last night. It's a really great conversation with some good insight. So you get those for free. You, of course, get to leave comments on our show and our mailbag. We really want to push people, diehard specifically, to be leaving comments on our weekly mailbag. We want to get more comments so we can read on the show as well. So we want to hit both of those. And if you're a DNVR diehard, you get access to do that as well. And exclusive members-only watch party. So if you want to become a diehard, go to thednvr.com, and it's going to get you 20% off so many things, including when you're at the bar. So make sure to become a diehard, and it really helps us as well.
Yeah, and go check out the floors that you could buy with Empire today. They redid our floors, and they're awesome now.
Yes,
they were pretty
they
gross
are.
before. They have a whole bunch of different perks. Like they've got a tool that you can use where you can virtually see what the floors, all the different floors would look like in your home or whatever space that you're trying to refloor. It's really easy because they'll just send somebody out to give you a free in-home estimate and talk through all your options, talk about like the pros and cons and all those sorts of things. They service their own warranty, so if there's an issue, you just call them and they'll help you figure it out. They'll handle it themselves. They make it super easy with their convenient shop-at-home purchases. It's an awesome company. We've been dealing with them a lot, obviously, as we've redone our floors. So for you can schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners will actually receive $350 off when they use the promo code DNVR. Some restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
Okay, so there is a lot of buzz potentially surrounding the Giants drafting a quarterback. Could that also just be them brilliantly playing into a smokescreen and building up hype that they're going to do that in order to trade down or to have someone jump them to take a quarterback so that Marvin Harrison, so that Neighbors, so that Brock Bowers, just that one of those guys falls to them at 6?
I mean, it's possible for sure. Yeah, I mean, you're just at the point where nothing anybody says can matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. What any of these coaches, GMs have to say, that you just throw it out because it's worthless. They could get a quarterback. They obviously have Daniel Jones, and they're paying him a lot of money. I don't know the exact details. I know there's a way to get out of the contract after this year, but I'm not sure
I think they're locked in
how tough it would be. So
got you locked too.
It's a tough situation because obviously whenever you're picking 8th or top 10, you're thinking like, well, we're not going to be here next year, and we're not going to be here the year after that, because that's just how you always think. So if they want to get a quarterback, now probably would be the time. It's just tough when you have the Daniel Jones thing there. And, I mean, you don't have Saquon anymore, who is kind of the safety valve for that entire offense. So if it really doesn't work with Daniel Jones, I mean, you probably are picking up there again next year, whether they're willing to admit it or not. So if I was them, I would just go get one of these receivers. Like, it just seems so easy. But they definitely could go quarterback.
So let's round it out. Where are we going with 4 and 5? You know I'm going to make the case to go as high up as possible. 3 with New England, 6 at the Giants.
So it definitely won't be 5.
Right.
I don't think.
Agreed.
Oh, wow. I don't know exactly how many picks all these teams have. I still think the small moves up would be more likely than the big ones, but
Okay.
I could be convinced anywhere. So
let's do one of each.
10, yeah.
10 to the Jets and 6 to the Giants.
Sure.
Let's do it. And that's our Bet365 most realistic spots for the Broncos to trade up. Okay, Henry, let's get an update on where things stand with our March Madness bracket. And another cool partnership that we've got going, Raising Cane's is presenting our draft coverage this year. All of our draft coverage is brought to you by Raising Cane's. Order online at RaisingCanes.com or through their mobile app. Raising Cane's chicken fingers are the best. You got to get them. Sauces are amazing too. So let's dive in and give an update. Bo Nix, the 16 seed in our March Madness bracket, Henry, has moved on. He is in the Final Four. He's really the NC State of this Broncos bracket right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's a quarterback.
Exactly.
He's not a very good quarterback, but it is what it is.
Okay, so let's break down the next matchup. It's a quarterback. It's J.J. McCarthy going up against Fuaga. Henry? It's quarterback. It's got to be J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, this one's easy. Yeah, I don't even think there's much conversation. Like, Fuaga's a good right tackle, but the Broncos already have a right tackle, so.
A really highly paid right tackle,
Exactly.
too, whose 2025 contract just became guaranteed over these past couple weeks. So, to me, easy. I think this is just going to be an absolute landslide of a vote. So if you want to vote, go to DNVR_Broncos on Twitter X. We will be putting up that vote later this afternoon. So get in, vote on that, and maybe we're just going to have 4 quarterbacks in the Final Four, which would be no surprise
Yep.
since it's a quarterback-driven league. When you get when you get desperate, you do crazy things.
Yeah. So I just brought up that Von Miller draft.
Yeah.
I checked. The 12th pick that year was the Vikings.
Yep.
And so, like, if the idea is you can take 3 firsts over the next 3 years, I'm not sure which were the Vikings picks and which weren't, but they wound up drafting 6 players, and it's pretty easy that you would take Vaughn over any of those 3 or any 3 of those 6 because it's Christian Ponder. He sucked. Matt Khalil, who played 5 years, went to a Pro Bowl in one of those years, but you're talking about a tackle who played 5 years. Harrison Smith, who's still playing. Sharif Floyd, defensive tackle, played his rookie contract. That was it. Xavier Rhodes, who's like a solid DB, but, and then Cordero Patterson, who didn't really work out. So, I mean, you'd probably say you definitely take Harrison Smith. You probably take Cordero Patterson and Xavier Rhodes. Again, it's an alternate history, and obviously Vaughn won a Super Bowl, but you still take Vaughn over all 3 of those guys. And it's like a random. They didn't draft well, but
I'd rather have Vaughn over Marvin Harrison Jr. Vaughn's
he's proven.
Proven, but also just a way more valuable position. I'd way rather have pass rusher.
Yeah,
than a
I guess
receiver.
pass rusher is still more. Receivers are changing
pass
though.
Rusher.
Like 5 years ago, you would say like receiver isn't even like a value position, but now it's turned into like it's obviously quarterback, but tackles, edge rushers, corners, and receivers are like the big 4 non-quarterback spots.
So you said, non-quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, receiver would be definitely last on that list, though.
You
for
think
me.
so?
Yeah.
Maybe. That one's just changed so much because it used to be that way, but now I don't even know what the reason is. I mean, obviously, like teams pass a bunch now, but that was true 10 years ago also. So,
yeah.
But yeah, when you just look at, I mean, because the idea is that you want to draft somebody so that you don't have to pay that money.
Right.
Receiver contracts are massive.
Yeah, they certainly are.
Like, they've kind of proven that.
Look at this, Hank. The Toyota chat has been popping off all day. Let's get to the super chats in the Toyota chat. Vincent chiming in and says, Broncos should drop fake terrible jerseys today. A little surprised they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, they would just have to be really terrible. And if they're really terrible, everybody knows they're fake.
It's obvious, yeah.
Because you can't actually drop any decent ones because then people just get pissed that those aren't the real ones.
It's true. Jacob Weddle comes and says, happy WrestleMania week to all those who celebrate. Hashtag we want Cody. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know it was WrestleMania week. But
no.
In
fact, I don't even know what that is.
Congratulations to everyone celebrating.
Yes.
I don't know either, but I'm glad you're celebrating, Jacob. Hayden chimes in and says, leaving military in July and got a job offer in Colorado Springs.
Ooh.
Thoughts on the area? Super outdoorsy area. Yes. The incline is one of like the most famous hikes in the country. It's literally just like a mile of stairs.
Yeah. I've only been down there once. It's definitely like a unique place though, because it's just a military base. So I'm not sure what the percentage is.
There's a little more. Yeah,
I mean like probably half the people there.
Yeah, it's a big.
Which, again, nothing wrong with that. It's a very different dynamic than like Denver, for example, where it's a bunch of people who work from home and sit on computers. Yeah.
Very outdoorsy though. Garden of the Gods, really, really pretty places. So you're gonna love it, Hayden. And thank you for your service and welcome to the great state of Colorado.
Leaving the military. That would be a very easy transition.
That's a really good point.
But also, if you want to feel like you're out of the military, that might not be the move.
Well, he got the job. He's moving. Don't say it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be a great transition.
It'll be a very easy transition.
Jacob says, let's not forget Sean Payton fell in love with Patrick Mahomes and thought he'd be able to fall to the Saints until the Chiefs jumped them and snagged him. If Sean loves a quarterback, he's not going to stay put again. That is spot on, Jacob. And Brian, our guy Brian Baldinger, who was on with us last week, pointed at that. And he knows Sean Payton well. So that is something to not forget. Patrick Mahomes was maybe the reason that the Broncos trade up this year. And not just because he's in the division, because Sean kind of got burned by the Chiefs jumping one spot ahead. Yeah.
It's a tough one, though, because, I mean, this year's draft, if you fall in love with somebody, first of all, it's probably Caleb Williams, the first pick. If not, it's probably the second pick, probably Jayden Daniels, and then after that, it's probably the third pick. So, like, the odds of you like it was nice in that draft that Patrick Mahomes was the second quarterback off the board and you could go get him at 10 because it was only Trubisky in front of him.
I think someone in that top 3, maybe I'm just being hopeful, is going to fall in love with Drake May because of the physical tools.
But also you watch
and
that
I don't
pro
think
day,
that's there you go.
and you're just like the guy can't hit an out route. Like,
oh, you meant it in that way.
Yeah, like when you're throwing against air and it's the same stuff you see on tape where it's like, oh, he's really big, but the accuracy isn't really there. Like, it's true, he's probably still up there. But also, I mean, what we're saying about Sam Howell at this point, and it's a very similar situation in that you hear from the NFL people in the off seasons. Like, that's when everybody's like, oh, if this guy was out, he'd be this. So you go into the season knowing, like, okay, as of now, Caleb Williams is number 1, Drake May's number 2. All season, Drake May's not that good, but everybody's like, oh, well, he is number 2. And then we hit this point when it's actually the time when we hear from the people who actually make the decisions and do the scouting. They're like, actually, you know, maybe he's not like just a lot has changed since a year ago when we said he's going to be number 2. And when you see like Sam Howell fall as far as he did, and there's differences there because Drake May is actually like a bigger player and more of like your prototype and not so much like, oh, he makes it work despite the concerns. One of these guys is going to fall, and it really feels right now like it's going to be Drake May.
I agree, but maybe a team makes a mistake. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Because I think if it's J.J. or Jayden, the Broncos make a move. I think that would be very exciting. And final super chat coming in from our friend Josh, who says, the only way Denver ends up with a top 4 guy is Vikings trade to number 3 and Denver moves to 4. Also, Benjamin Albright said Penix did not do well in the meeting with Denver. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that report from Albright about what meeting he's talking about. I do not believe Penix has been in Denver yet. I think that's happening this week.
Yep.
And we know that the main people with the Broncos, general manager, offensive coordinator, I don't believe Sean, was none of those guys were at Michael Penix's pro day. Mm-hmm. It was just some regional scouts that were there and pass game coordinators. So if he had a bad meeting after that, it wasn't like the important meeting. Those are coming up this week. And typically it's hard to get real good information from like what Sean Payton feels about those meetings until, well, really never actually.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just too early. Nothing would surprise me at this point.
Yep, me neither. Outside of tomorrow, we're going to be back tomorrow. That's not going to be a surprise in the Toyota Lounge. Thank you, everyone, for dropping your comments in the Toyota chat. Thank you to Alyssa for producing the show, for Henry for rocking and rolling with me, and for everyone for tuning in. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out, and stay tuned to the DNVR Broncos mailbag coming to your way on YouTube and on the podcast feed. So stay tuned.
Yes.
We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.